When SRAM eTap was launched in autumn of 2015, it made a big impact. This was clearly one of the most important steps forward in bicycle gears for quite some time. But despite just how flipping great it was, there was still a sense that it was just the beginning. Now, we've probably all guessed what the next step was going to be, but we've had to wait a whole year before we can actually get our hands on it. It being the new eTap HRD, wireless shifting with hydraulic disc brakes. To be fair to SRAM, there is a reason why it's taken this time, because this isn't just a case of blending two existing technologies together in one new lever, because the brakes themselves have seen considerable redesign. So let's take a look at the whole package, shall we? The actual eTap bits you'll be familiar with now, I'm sure. The levers communicate wirelessly with the derailleurs via SRAM's own proprietary encryption. And then the way you actually shift gears also changed considerably as well, because your left shift lever now actuates downshifts at the rear derailleur. And if you want to change your front derailleur, then you have to deploy both the shift levers at the same time. Now, it's fair to say that it was pretty much universally praised amongst the cycling media, and it's also proved remarkably robust as well. In fact, Team Katusha and Team Edge Desert, who used SRAM eTap in the World Tour, have both apparently been exceedingly pleased. So, it's fair to say then that the eTap bits remain unchanged. So what we're looking at here really is the new lever that marries the wireless shifting with the hydraulic brakes and the new disc calipers themselves. So I suggest that's where we go next. SRAM have listened to current disc brake users, and I think also tried to address the concerns of those currently not using discs, because they've been moved to change one of the most fundamental parts of the brake, the way it actually feels when you use it. So the current brake is, I think, quite surprising when you first use it, because although hugely powerful, the braking force when you initially apply the brakes is relatively gentle. It's a very progressive brake. But having done a load of R&D testing near their base in Colorado, down some pretty epic descents, the SRAM R&D team have decided to make these new ones more powerful. The theory being that pulling less hard at the lever is always a good thing. And it has to be said, with rim brakes, that's something I've always wanted, so I'm particularly excited to try these. SRAM have also been continuing to amass a wealth of test data on heat management, and they say that this new brake actually improves the performance further in that area. And the way they've done it is actually really interesting. So some very intelligent material choices mean that the brake can actually run hotter, safer. So they've got steel rotor and dot fluid still in the cable lines. But then also they've made about 4 or 5 subtle changes. So they have borrowed technology from their mountain bike brakes with their heat shield. They've also got insulated aluminium pistons. And then they've also got a wider pad pocket as well, which presumably improves airflow. Then SRAM have also tackled the issue of maintenance. So hydraulics can pose something of a mental hurdle to those of us used to using cables. Maintaining them is a bit more of a daunting task, even if it's not actually any harder. So anyway, SRAM have attempted to simplify the bleed process to try to tackle that. They've certainly made it more intuitive, and by all accounts, they have managed it. Particularly telling us this quite excellent anecdote where they gave the brakes to a bunch of technophobic roadies and used them as guinea pigs. And they asked them to bleed the brakes, but gave them no instructions. But by all accounts, they all actually managed the task. We all know the true test, though, would have been giving the brakes to Matt Stevens, seeing what he could have done with them. Presumably that's something we could line up for GCN at a later date. Now, despite packing everything into a smaller space, SRAM have managed to keep and also add some new features up at the lever. So we've got reach adjustment. So by turning a 2.5mm Allen screw there, we can actually bring the lever blade closer to the handlebars. Great for people with small hands. And then we've got a first for SRAM on the road, and that is contact point adjustment. So what I mean is, if you like loads of lever pull before your brakes actually start to work, like me, then you can do so by turning a little bolt just inside the lever hood there. And then conversely, if you like really immediate feeling brakes, you can do that too. And the best thing of all about this is that the way it works is by actually changing the internals of the lever rather than moving the pads. So if you like those immediate feeling brakes, you don't have to run your pads super close to the rotor. It works by changing the relationship of the cup seals to the timing ports, if you were wondering. Finally, SRAM have even managed to reduce the weight slightly. So now, to put it in some kind of context, per bike, you're looking at only a couple of 100 grams extra for using disc brakes over rim brakes, which is pretty close if you ask me. Now, all in all then, I think those add up to some pretty exciting tech developments, and I cannot wait to actually go and ride this bike. So if you forgive me, I'm going to go do that now, and then we'll have a video up for you very soon indeed. But in the meantime, if you want to find out a little bit more about the eTap side, the actual shifting side, then we've got a couple of videos that you need to watch. So if you click just up there, you get through to the first look, or just over there, and you get through to a first ride. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe to GCN. To do that, just click on the globe.